Hey guys, we are finally getting around to canning all those tomatoes from the Amish, and in order to make it doable for us in our living situation, we have to make it easy. So a really easy way to make tomato sauce and can it is in the blender. My friend Brandy is the sweetest ever, and she has been my canning hookup lately, and I want to show you what she taught me. Basically all Abby and I are doing are coring, and this one's all mush, so don't use mushy ones, but we core the tomatoes and then we chunk them up, cut off any bruises or funky spots, and then once those tomatoes are cored and chunked up, we toss them in a blender.
What, honey? Open it again? No.
Once your blender gets pretty full, this is all we have left, so ours is only half full this time. Just pop it in the blender and hit go. Once your tomatoes are all blended, pour them in a pot right here. And then we're just gonna cook that down till it's about half its volume. So it's thick. And you can add salt if you want. I'm not adding anything to this. I'm just gonna cook it on down and then put it in my jars. While that sauce is cooking down, Emma and I are going to whip up a batch of fermented salsa. I can't even tell you how giddy I still get that we are using our own onions in just about everything we cook. So note to self, grow a lot more onions and take better care of them so they get bigger next year. That was so fun. That is such a fun thing for us, that we're actually using these little tomatoes that we grew and the little onions that we grew. So yeah, growing food is awesome. So we are gonna whip up this quick batch of fermented salsa, and I will share the recipe with you below. It's a super easy, easy peasy thing. I don't want people to be intimidated of fermenting because it's so easy and so good for you, and it preserves a lot of the quality of the food, the nutrients in the food, and actually enhances the food. So like canning kind of sterilizes your food and you lose quite a bit of nutrition, where fermenting like boosts it. So don't be scared, ferment your food. Alright, so our little concoction of fermented salsa is ready to be closed up, but I wanted to quick tell you how I did it because it's hard to do it and record it and wrangle the kids and all of that in this tiny little spot. So I just chopped up some tomatoes, whatever tomatoes we had that were ripe, about a quarter cup of cilantro, onions. The recipe calls for half an onion, but I have a bunch of small ones, so there's about 4 small onions in here, 4 baby onions, and 2 jalapeno peppers because we like things spicy. I then squirted some bottled lime juice because I didn't have any fresh lime. So I squirted some bottled lime juice on top, and about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of Celtic sea salt I sprinkled on top. I mixed it all together. Oh, and 2 cloves of garlic. Minced that up and mixed it all together and squished it down to where the juices, I don't know if you can see that, the juices are kind of covering the top of it. Now I'm gonna do what I do and place the glass fermentation weight on top of that, squish it all down so where there's more juices created, and then top it with my little fermenting top, and then a ring, and leave it on my counter for 2 days. And that's easy peasy fermented salsa. Okay guys, this is how easy this is. The baby's awake, so I'm gonna hurry. All you do is place your weight in, and I super love these weights because they have that little handle so you can pick them up. A lot of the weights only have the cylinder part, and then you have to dig around in there, dump half your stuff out to get your weight out. But these have that handle. That little handle makes it super easy to remove when you're ready to eat your goodies. So you press your weight down. Can you see that in there? Squish all your liquids up so it's covering. Then put your little top on and twist your ring on. It's super hard to do it with one hand, so I'm gonna do that and show you what it looks like. Okay, real quick. The reason why I love fermenting so much is not only because it's super healthy. Fermenting is kind of like cooking, where canning is kind of like baking. They both have their place in a homestead kitchen, and I love them both equally. But not only do you preserve the nutrition and the flavors, the freshness of your food, and actually add to the nutrition by culturing it when you ferment, but you can also kind of toss in what you like. There's not a ton of rules. There's a few basic rules you have to follow, which is making sure you have enough salt or whey to keep the bad bacteria away and the good bacteria growing, and making sure you burp it. There's a few rules with fermenting, but basically the flavor choice is up to you, just like cooking. The flavors are up to you. There's not a ton of rules you have to follow, just a few basic ones. And with baking, you're pretty strict. You have to follow a certain amount of procedures and rules, kind of like canning. Canning, there's rules and times and all of that stuff. So they both have a great place in the homestead kitchen, so it's good to learn both of those skills while you're preserving your food. Okay, all of that sauce cooked down to 2 quarts, and I am going to take that outside to my water bath canner that I have on my little propane double burner camp stove.
I saw that coming out of his mouth.
What?
He's tipping him up like this over me and it's slow. I did, yeah, oh he is tired. He needs to go night-night.
No, I don't. He always does.
Y'all, it's the shenanigans I deal with. Anytime I'm trying to record a video, that's the shenanigans. Y'all, this admittedly feels a little bit silly, putting only 2 jars in that big old water bath canner, but I'm following along with Jessica over at 3 Rivers Homestead and her Every Bit Counts challenge. And these 2 jars will serve for a couple of meals at least this winter, and that counts, right? So a little bit each day adds up. Those 2-quart jars of tomato sauce will process in our water bath canner for 45 minutes. I'll then turn off the heat and let the canner cool. After it's totally cooled, or about 10-15 minutes after it's cool enough, I'll remove the lid and then take my jars out of the canner to cool on my countertop for 24 hours. It's gonna be really late. It'll probably be the middle of the night or the next day when I get around to doing that. So I'm gonna close this video off here and just tell you guys thank you so much for hanging out with me during this tomato preservation kind of day. Alright guys, thanks. I will see you on the next one.
Blue, come to me.
Haggy.
Pretty much my cat, I heard.
Oh, Haggy.
Ow.
Hi, she said.
Don't bring it there.
Okay, yeah. Please, okay, yeah.